And welcome back to Sports the Nemo Way. This is Alex, and we're here to talk about Paul Pierce, the 6'7", 235-pound small forward who played for the Boston Celtics. Well, then it was the New Jersey Nets. Now it's the Brooklyn Nets, Washington Wizards, and Los Angeles Clippers. He is a one-time champ, zero-time MVP. He's a 10-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, and a Finals MVP with career averages of 19, 5, and 3 on 44% shooting. So now I kick it to Wade.
Well, all right. Oh, Paulie Pierce. Well, actually, when I think a large part of what factored in Paul Pierce being on my list was when I first started watching the NBA. He was one of the best players in the league. So growing up, I watched Pierce and Kobe and Shaq and Vince and T-Mac and AI and KG and Dirk and Duncan. Like those guys were the guys that dominated the NBA when I first started watching. So Pierce was probably one of the first few small forwards that popped into my head. I think we talked about that before. Who you watched growing up kind of sticks in your head a little bit. But I think I have him, 7, 8, somewhere there on my small forwards. Somewhere in that vicinity. I just thought, besides growing up watching Pierce, he was, I thought, just a decent, safe pick for the end of my small forwards. Decent career averages, pretty good career totals. He was able to get a championship, double-digit All-Star appearances, 4-time All-NBAs, Finals MVP. Just really good all-around numbers. I think he's in the top 10 all-time in three-pointers made, I believe. If not, he's close. I'll double-check after I'm done talking. But I'm pretty positive. At least when he retired, I think he was in the top 10, unless he's been surpassed by someone. So I just thought he was a good all-around player, good all-around pick, lots of accomplishments, good numbers, good career totals, got a championship. So I just thought he was a good, safe pick for the end of my small forwards. I'll leave it at that for the moment.
All right. Ray, do you have anything to add to what Wade had to say?
I followed him from his Kansas years. That's where I liked him the most. I like.
You're gonna get some pushback on that.
I don't care. I don't care.
I don't like anything about Kansas.
I like Paul
Doug
Pierce.
hates this whole thing.
I like Paul Pierce. I like Jock Vaughn at the time. I thought he was really good when he played with Kansas as well. And they had a third player. I can't remember his name.
Wasn't Rafe LaFrentz there at that time?
Kurt Heinrich there?
That sounds familiar.
Wasn't Rafe LaFrentz on Kansas with Pierce?
He may have been. Yeah, that's about that time.
Was Heinrich there at the same time?
I thought Heinrich came a little later.
A little later, I think.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking more like a Mike Miller. Was he?
Mike Miller played at Florida.
Florida.
Right, yeah, he was the Gator.
Who was I thinking of? I don't know. I can't remember right now. But I followed him from there, and that's where I got my first, saw him the first time, and I liked his play there. And then once he got to the Celtics, that's when he started getting a little swag and a little, bravado. But I like his, I guess you could say character that he brought into the NBA. He had his own little style, and that's what I like the most. And with his own style, he also was a pretty awesome player in his own right. He won a title, all rookie, Finals MVP. I mean, he had that Celtics team was his team for like 10 plus years, and you could not take it away from him. I don't care if it was Ray Allen or Kevin Garnett or Rajon Rondo. That was Paul Pierce's team for like 10 years. And I mean, Paul Pierce is just a great player, and I like watching him play.
All right. Before I get into any of my argument, I heard a cool story about Paul Pierce. He got drafted 10th overall, and he was very upset about this because he thought he was better than that. So he would do drills his rookie season, and he had to do every single drill correctly 9 times for all 9 guys that were picked ahead of him before he could move on to the next drill. So like when they would have him, if he had to make his free throws, he had to make 9 in a row, or he couldn't move on. If he had to do his, whatever he was doing, he had to do it 9 times in a row for the 9 guys that were taken ahead of him. I thought that was really cool. I never would have thought to do that, but that was cool.
By the way, I was correct. He's number 9 all time in threes.
I was gonna say, was he number 10?
He's number 9. But Damian Lillard is 10 and gonna pass him soon. So
Well, if you don't play today, there's no chance you stay on the 3-point list.
Yeah.
Like even Ray Allen and Reggie Miller are going to get destroyed. Like it's just.
They'll get caught eventually.
I mean, the other night, I don't want to get off on too big of a tangent, but the other night in one basketball game, Steph Curry shot 22 threes
how many did he make?
against Memphis. Not very many.
I would say he's.
He shot like crap that night, but he shot 22 threes. So, I mean, now that's a little bit of a standout, but I think he averaged like 13 this year. So, I mean, and like we talked about before, like in the 80s, Larry Bird shot the most threes ever in a season at 100.
He does it in like 4 games.
Right, and like Reggie and Ray Allen averaged like 4 attempts a game. Now we're quadrupling that, tripling that. Whatever, like there's no Kid and Reggie and Ray and Paul and all those guys, Jason Terry, they're all on the top 10 list right now. They'll be gone.
well, like I said in that Westbrook episode, in the 90s, teams averaged 7 a game. Now teams average 35 a game attempts per game. So that's But anyway, you should probably give your factors.
Sorry, Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce is the motherfucking truth. Shaquille O'Neal said that. That's where he got the nickname The Truth, was Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Just some basics. Paul Pierce is 19th all-time in points, 5th among small forwards. He's 96th all-time in rebounds, 6th among our small forwards, and he's 80th all-time in assists, 7th among our small forwards. I keep wanting to say power forwards. I apologize. So, kind of what Wade and Ray touched on. I thought he had a solid all-around career. His averages, his totals, his accomplishments, and I did grow up watching Paul Pierce play. He was one of the best small forwards in the league most of my life. He made the end of my list. I'm not 100% sure where I ranked him either, to be honest, but he's towards the end.
Wade had him at 8.
Yeah, I don't have him high by any means. I think I was probably similarly ranked for me. I should have that. I apologize.
I think he's high on my list, to be totally honest.
Alex, you also have him at 8.
There you go.
And
Well, I think Ray has him
wrenching things.
Ray has him ranked the highest overall
he has
as
him
well.
at 23. Both of you had like low 30s, high 30s.
23?
Yeah.
Ray, going bold. I like it.
Yeah. I go a little psychotic from time to time.
There you go.
Well, I mean,
small forward.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Drew?
Ray has him at number 5, small forward.
5. So 5, 8, and 8. Gotcha. So that's my opening statement. I don't have a ton. So let's kick it over to the two that don't have Paul Pierce. So I guess I'll kick it to Drew.
Why not? We always kick it over.
I mean,
Go, Drew.
I didn't kick it to you first. I kicked it to Wade first. I mean,
Yeah, it's not my guy, but whatever side I'm on, let's go to Drew. As they all look at me and smile.
But again, you didn't get to see his whole career, but you got to see a
I saw
portion
the
of his
end.
career.
I saw the end with the Celtics, and I saw all of it, the rest of the teams.
Yeah, when he was fat.
You missed his prime, pretty much.
I missed the prime, but you know.
You missed the
At least
actual really good Paul Pierce.
I remember Wizards Paul Pierce, if anything. I forgot he even played for them.
He was okay.
But then you
there.
said the Wizards, like, I remember him playing, because I remember him making like that one game winner, and he's like flexing on everybody. He's like,
That was
those flabby arms.
that was in the playoffs, wasn't it? Didn't they?
He made
had
some
he had a game winner in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure.
That was young John Wall and Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
With him, and they made the second round of the playoffs
he was
there.
like,
Yeah, he's all fat and flabby, always getting all.
So I remember
thinking
that, and
he's
then him in
beefy.
the wheelchair.
That is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. You think he broke his back, and then he comes back in just fine. Just
I had to say that because That's funny.
Anyway, we're not talking about Paul Pierce again.
Well, it's so flabby. It's so funny.
He was one of those guys that even in his prime, like when he first got in the league, he was never like trim and like chiseled up or anything. He was always had a little bit of pudginess to him. But then late in his career, he got a little.
Like,
he got
late with the Celtics, like in his later prime years, like, he just husky.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like he's down a dozen donuts for the game. Like,
Guys,
I'm ready, boys.
we're gonna get in trouble because we're fat shaming on here. So we just need to let Drew talk about Paul Pierce.
I don't know. It had a pretty good career, looking at his numbers and stuff. He was actually one of the guys I kind of forgot about. Small forwards, when I was looking at my list, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about Paul. And he's got a title. That's good. Finals MVP. That's a good thing. He's All-NBA 4 times, 10-time All-Star. So, I mean, he's got accomplishments and stuff, and some of the other people that we've talked about. So, I think he's a good player. I think I just had a couple other guys, like right at the bottom, that I think that were better.
Do you off the top of your head? Do you know who your last couple of small forwards?
Dominique is one of them, and then Paul Arizin.
Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
That's
Which I think Dominic was a popular pick for the bottomless people's list.
aside
which
Dominique, I think had
I think that's a
9, and then Paul at 10.
Yeah, I don't think you can really argue Dominique at the bottom.
I think 4 of us have Dominique. I think Wade's the only one that
I
doesn't.
have-
Yeah, see, I have Dominique at 9 and Adrian Dantley's my 10.
Yeah, I have Danley.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dominique is 9 on my list as well. I think.
Yeah.
So that's who people that beat out Paul on my list. He just averaged a couple more points than Paul and rebounds and assists. That's it. I mean, that could have been because Pierce also played 300 more games and lasted longer, so that could have hurt that numbers there a little bit. So that's kind of what I have so far for Paul.
Well, Uncle Doug, what you got for
All
us?
right. Well, like Drew said, Paul did play 300 more games than Dominique Wilkins and almost 400 more games than Adrian Dantley. I mean, Pierce had a long career.
Yeah, 18 years, I think.
Yeah.
19, I think it says right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
19.
So, and we've gone back and forth on this before. If you play a long time, your totals are good. If you play a shorter time, your averages are good. And like Alex said, he is 19 on the scoring list, 96 in rebounds, assists 80. But if you look at his averages, the rebounds and assists are neither one top 250. And his scoring is 76th. I go back and forth on that. I try to balance out between the two. Like I said, my 2 bottom guys, and please excuse my voice. I got a little sinus trouble tonight.
And
We've all been there.
Yeah, yeah. We're Dominique and Adrian Dantley, and assist wise, Pierce has got him by a little bit. He's 3.5. Adrian Dantley was 3. Dominique was like 2.5. Rebounds, Paul Pierce was 5.6. Dantley was 5.7. Dominique was 6.7, so Dominique wins the rebounding. But then you get down to points. Paul's 19.7. They both average over 24. Dantley was 24.3, 24.8. He does have a title over them. But Ray was talking about how it was his team for all those years. The year after Garnett and Ray Allen came in, they won their title. The year before, without them, they won 24 games. So it might have been Pierce's team, but before those two, it wasn't a very good team.
Well, in all fairness, he went to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals a couple years before that.
Yeah.
With
He did have
Antoine
some
Walker.
It was ups and downs. He
Yeah,
had
right.
some success
I
with
mean-
Antoine Walker, and then it fell off. But
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of that, I mean, I like Paul Pierce. I think he's a good player. I didn't like where he played in Kansas, but that's another story. But I do like Paul. I thought he was a good
Does
player.
that mean you liked where he played in Boston?
Well, I like it better than Kansas. I definitely like him better than Kansas.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
That's okay. I don't mind. And you know, he did win the title over the Lakers that year, 4-2. If you look at he was the MVP at 21-8, 4.5, and 6. Ray Allen averaged 20, 5, and 2.5. KG was 18, 13, and 3. So I had to say probably pretty close MVP. Kobe averaged almost 26, 5 and 5. So I mean, really, he had probably the best stats of the bunch, but of course they lost, so that doesn't amount to much.
I was actually gonna ask like what everybody thought about the big three, because that's one of the trickier who was the best player on the team
I
conversations.
figured we would get to this
you can
about
have.
them coming together and all that.
Because that is a tricky. Because some people lean towards Pierce and some people lean towards like KG.
Well, I think
And Ray Allen played a very important role. So
Right.
I think
And
that-
so really
I
did
would say
Rondo.
Rondo
Yeah.
played.
I mean, you can't discount
so
Rondo.
that is. They were all 4 All-Stars at a certain point
Right,
in time.
yeah.
So that is a tricky conversation.
I think. Well, I don't think anybody was trying to say this, but I don't think Rondo was ever considered the best player on the team while they were there.
No,
Um,
absolutely
And
not.
I think Ray Allen was clearly the third best player on that team at that point in his career. He wasn't as good as the other two at that point. He'd kind of declined.
Yeah.
I think after that, I've heard the argument on both sides for Garnett and Pierce for who was the best player on that team. Essentially, Garnett was the superior defensive player. He won Defensive Player of the Year. He anchored their defense. Blocking shots and. As we can probably all picture Garnett in our head barking at guys and screaming at guys for not playing good enough defense and stuff like that. That was his calling, I guess. And Pierce was the better offensive player. Not that Garnett couldn't score. He just seemed to take a little bit more of a back seat on the offensive end of the floor when he went to Boston.
I was pretty impressed when I actually looked up the final stats, and Garnett had 18 and 13.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good stat line for a final.
Ray Allen, though, I think you might be right with him being the third best player, but his role was extremely important because without him stretching the floor, then Pierce and KG's job is a lot harder because the floor is not as spaced, and he was that automatic knockdown shooter that they went to in important situations. And coming into the Celtics, Ray Allen was coming off averaging. It was something in, I don't remember,
25 or 26. Yeah, he had a
game
big season.
with
yeah.
Seattle. So I mean, he was capable of lighting it up if he had to. And I don't know. The team was just, it was very interesting dynamic between the three of them. I think they all played extremely important roles.
Would you say were they like the beginning of super teams? Would you say those three, or would you say
No.
LeBron and them?
Well, if we're talking about like
Formed differently.
Yeah.
I mean, because if Hall of Famers play together or super teams, there's been super teams since the 50s.
That's true.
The Celtics were Danny Ainge did most of that. He traded for.
He did all of it.
Or was it all?
I mean, he traded for both of them. Neither one of them came there in free agency.
When the whole super team nowadays started, they wait till their free agents all talk to each other in the off season, then all hurry up and go to one team and form these giant super teams. So I think a little difference, but that big three probably was part of the reason LeBron probably decided to form his big three, so he can, because when he was with Cleveland, he got beat by the Celtics a few times, so he was probably like, well, let me go form my own big three, and I'll meet you in the Eastern Conference Finals again.
And it was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. And it just escalated from there.
But in all fairness, I have to throw this in there because I have to. But LeBron's last year in Cleveland, he didn't get beat by Boston.
The Orlando Magic.
He got beat by Orlando
Yeah.
and Dwight Howard, who was playing with no superstars.
No.
Yeah.
Was it old Turkaloo?
Turkaloo,
Rashard
Rashard Lewis,
Lewis,
Jameer Nelson,
They were good.
Courtney Lee. So, yeah.
Can't make fun of Turkaloo. Turkaloo was good for a few years.
He
Yeah.
was. I'm not making fun. I just
No,
remember
Turkaloo
him.
and Rashard Lewis were both guys you liked having on your team. I don't know that I wanted either one of them to be the second best player on my team if I was trying to play for a championship, which is what, they were in the finals, and one of those two would be your second best player, I guess, depending on what you wanted. And
I think Rashard Lewis actually made All-Star teams with Seattle when he was teamed up with Ray Allen. I think he made a couple.
he might have. I'm not 100% sure. I know I like Rashard Lewis. I really liked that team. That was a cool, fun ride for me, but we paid him I can't remember, some obscene amount of money, like $150 million, and for him to average, 16-6. So, but I will say this: he did sacrifice for the team because he played the 4 next to Dwight all that time and got beat up a lot when he had to play against guys like Zach Randolph and David West and guys like that. Before we did the whole stretch 4 thing.
He's a 2-time All-Star.
2-time All-Star.
Yeah, I think he had a couple of really big scoring years in Seattle.
Well, one year I'm pretty sure Ray Allen missed the beginning of the season, and Rashard Lewis had a crazy beginning of the season. Had multiple 50-point games and just went off at the beginning of the season, and when they were still in Seattle.
You think he's got 3 seasons of over 20 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really good.
I don't know how we got off on the Orlando Magic, but
Rashard Lewis.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about the finals and that stuff.
Finals. Yeah.
And, again, we've had this discussion before. When you get to the bottom of our list,
Oh, yeah.
there's a few guys that float back and forth, and I went with Dominique and AD instead of Paul. I had a couple other guys that just throw out there to think about. Bernard King played for the Knicks back in the day. Actually shot field goal percentage was .518 to Pierce's .445. Assists 3.3 to 3.5. Rebounds 5.8 to 5.6. And averaged 22.5 points a game. Bernard, but way less games. Bernard only played 874.
I was gonna say, didn't Bernard King's career get cut short by a knee injury?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
thought
He
so.
was a pretty amazing player for a while. And, of course, New York loved him. And another one that, again, kind of caught me off guard when I saw these numbers, and it's something we can talk about here, is Carmelo Anthony.
I was waiting to bring him up.
He's played almost 1,200 games, so he's getting up there close game-wise. Field goal percentage, Pierce is .445, Carmelo's .447, almost identical. Assists, 3.5 for Pierce, 2.8 for Carmelo, so he's a little ahead there. Pierce, 5.6 rebounds, 6.3 for Carmelo, so he's up a little there. And then Carmelo's still averaging 23 points a game. So I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I should have been looking a little closer at Carmelo too.
No, I mean, I brought Melo up in the Dantley episode because,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure everybody knows by this point because this episode won't come out for a while, but Melo just went 10th all time in scoring.
Yeah, I mean, he's
He looked good last night.
And
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up the other day. If he plays next year, he'll be 9th. He's going to move up again.
Yeah.
If he plays. I mean, and obviously he's not playing at a high level right now. He's coming off the bench, but he's still a useful player. It's not like he's buried on the bench and, terrible. Like last night in the playoff game, he hit 4 threes in the first quarter and had this huge comeback for Portland. He's still a little bit of an instant offense guy off the bench. He's got a role, is what I'm saying. He's not Parrish on the Bulls, that last Bulls run.
right, where he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
I think the big knock on Melo is the lack of postseason success.
Right.
That's the big thing that looms over him. Or I think he would probably garner a lot more respect from a lot of people if he had that. It's really, I mean, he's maybe one Western Conference appearance in his prime with Billups.
He made the Western Conference Finals in Denver with Billups.
Other than that, almost nothing though.
Here's the crazy thing about Melo and his not winning. He blatantly chose it, and he'll tell you he chose it. He chose to play on lesser teams because of location and what he wanted in his personal life. He chose to go to New York, even though he knew they weren't any good.
Well, he was supposed to form a dynamic duo with Stoudemire. But
He did, but they couldn't play together. When they were on the floor together, they sucked because Melo whined and complained about where he got play on the floor, and all I'm saying is, I guess, is he was on a really good Denver team. He had most of all of his success, winning success in Denver, and chose to leave because he wanted to live in New York City. And LeBron and Wade asked him to be the third member of their big three instead of Bosh, and he turned it down because he said he wanted to make a full contract, which I'm not making knocking anybody making their money. Make your money, bro. But he literally chose money and location over winning, and he seems to be completely okay with it. So I mean, hey, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think Kobe asked him to come play in L.A. too, and he didn't want to leave New York. Again, I think it had a lot to do with his wife, girlfriend, and that's where all her famous stuff was at, and I think that was part of it at least. But yeah, you're right. He did. He had opportunities to go where he probably would have won some titles, but chose to go someplace else.
Now he's in Portland.
Well, I since we brought it up, I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question since we're kind of like just all over the place. What does the big three in Miami look like if it's Melo instead of Bosh?
Wow, that'd be
I
interesting.
think kind of same
I
scenario
think
we
Bosh
look
is
at.
actually a better fit.
Yeah, because the same scenario what we're looking at with Durant, Irving, and Harden, like 3 people, 1 basketball. Like
Well, here's my thing. We talked about in the Bosh episode whether how good of a defender Bosh was. He's head and shoulders a better defender than Melo.
Yeah,
oh yeah, their defense would be nothing.
yeah. Bosh is probably the better
Bosh
fit.
was better at doing the
Role
dirty
player
work.
things.
Yeah, that Carmelo would have just either refused to do or just not been good at.
Yeah, I mean we've seen Melo refuse things even recently. I'm not coming off the bench. If you put me on the bench, cut me.
Yeah, he did that in
Yeah.
OKC.
He did it in OKC, and then he did it in Houston, and Houston cut him.
Yeah,
So, and then everybody threw a fit. Melo's been out of the league for a year. The league's blackballing Melo. What's wrong with the league? Da da da. Well, he's an aging player that most players from his draft class aren't in the NBA anymore, and he's refusing to come off the bench. He's come back and played nice, but
Yeah,
guess
he
what?
has.
Guess what he does? He comes off the bench.
yeah. Because didn't he come in LeBron's class?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Him-
LeBron,
LeBron
D-Wade.
came from high school, and
Came from Syracuse.
Carmelo won the title at Syracuse, and then was just a year older.
because they fought for Rookie of
Yep.
the Year.
Because
Yeah.
that was the Carmelo Bosh LeBron draft, right? With Darko Milicic in there.
Oh,
Yeah, it was LeBron, Darko.
Darko was
Right.
between them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Forgot
LeBron,
about
Darko,
Darko.
Anthony, Bosh, and D-Wade all went right there.
Wow, that's quite a draft.
Imagine the Pistons. Oh my goodness! Like there's
And look where the Pistons are at now.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending the Darko Milicic pick, but Darko, even if he was good, there's a good chance he'd be out of the league by now anyway, and they would suck anyway. But,
Right, yeah,
I mean,
that's
most of
true.
the guys in that draft class are gone. I mean,
Yeah.
even D-Wade's gone.
Right, D-Wade's
And
out,
Bosh
too.
is gone. So I mean, hey, that's been. 2003 was quite a while ago.
Yes.
I was born then.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show, though, how draft picks can affect your future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you miss on the top pick like that, it hurts you for a while.
What do you think? I mean, everybody always says Melo. They should have taken Melo. But if they wanted a big, if they were taking Bosh,
Right.
what does that extend that Pistons run? Do they get another championship? Because they won one.
I said I've got at least someone to try and guard Tim Duncan. Have Bosh and Duncan go at it. Because isn't that who they played? No, the Pistons played the Spurs one of those years.
Yeah, they lost to the Spurs in the finals.
They lost to the Spurs and they beat the Lakers, right?
Yeah, they beat the Lakers.
Yeah.
and they made
That-
like 8 straight Eastern Conference Finals or something like that.
It was
something-
some crazy number,
Or
yeah.
6
5 or 6 straight
something
Eastern Conference
insane.
Finals.
Yeah, they were always right there in the East for a good stretch of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, add
That-
Bosh to the team. I think they'll be just fine.
and let's be honest, as much as I like Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton, they're not superstars.
No.
They won a championship without a legit superstar.
They had 5 good starters,
Yeah.
legit 5 good starters, plus a couple good bench players.
Yeah, I mean they were a team that was always able to bring in veteran guys and have them come off the bench. I mean, Antonio McDyess did that for him. Chris
Carlos
Webber
Williamson.
did that
Yeah,
for him.
Webber.
Carlos Williamson did it for him. Elgin Campbell did it for him.
Yeah.
Like they repeatedly were able to bring in guys that would come off the bench and give them good minutes behind those 5 guys. And I feel like we're forgetting a couple, but Chucky Atkins came off the bench for him for a couple of years. So anyway, again, it's not a Pistons pod today.
Right. Well,
But we can return to Paul Pierce because I do have more stuff over here. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Were you done, Uncle Doug?
yep. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. Well, I also did some of what you did, Uncle Doug, by comparing the careers to a couple of these guys. Although I will say this, by looking at mine, Wade's, and Ray's lists, I can't pick out a small forward to pick on that doesn't appear on one of our lists. So even by me, if I let's just say, for instance, I pick on Dominique, but he appears on me and Ray's list. If I pick on Dantley, he appears on Wade's list.
Right.
So it was an interesting thing, but I do talk about those guys a little bit, and I have Pierce ranked ahead of Dominique on my list. So, but anyway, I did the Pierce Dantley thing first because I don't have Dantley on my own list. I know Wade does on his. But I tried something different today because we do talk about we tend to, with these arguments, get into one specific thing, like, hey, career averages, and then we like hammer it home and we don't talk about anything else the rest of the episode. So I wanted to try and spread the wealth here a little bit. So I start off with accolades between Pierce and Dantley. Pierce wins the All-Star appearances 10-6. Pierce has more All-NBAs 4-2. Pierce has a title and Dantley does not. Pierce has a Finals MVP. Dantley has a Rookie of the Year. So Pierce does kind of dominate the accolades portion of that. But then we look at career numbers. Career averages. Sorry. Sometimes I mix those up. I say career numbers, and everybody's like, what, averages or totals? Career points per game, or per game stats. Sorry. Rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, blocks per game, and turnovers per game, and free throws percentage are all very, very similar with Dantley and Pierce, all within a couple tenths of each other in those things. And I don't feel like that's enough to really differentiate, Dantley wins points per game, like Uncle Doug mentioned, and field goal percentage, while Pierce shoots better from three. So Dantley does have the edge over Pierce and career per game averages. In career totals, Pierce wins every category. Obviously Pierce has better career averages. So I gave Pierce the nod because he won the accolades and he won the career numbers, and they were actually close in the per game stuff, even though Dantley did get the edge. Then I did the same thing with, before I move on to somebody else, does anybody else want to say anything?
No,
I'm just
waiting.
We're good.
I'm curious to get to the end.
Yeah, I didn't want to move on to somebody else if somebody had something to say about Dantley. So then I went on to Paul Arizin.
Your boy.
Because I had to.
It's been a hot minute. Good stuff.
Pierce and Arizin are both 10-time All-Stars. They both are four-time All-NBAs.
Mm-hmm.
What's the likelihood? What's the likelihood they both have the exact same number of All-Stars and All-NBAs?
My Paul's got 2 scoring championships.
They both have one championship. Pierce has a Finals MVP. Paul Arizin has a Rookie of the Year. Man, look at these Rookie of the Year guys.
Paul Arizin Finals MVP wasn't around yet, just saying.
I know. I actually have that on here. So a really even accolades for Arizin and Pierce. Am I saying that right? Did we decide Arizin is
I
right?
think Arizin's how we.
It's been a while, so I want
Yeah.
to make sure.
I think that's right.
Yeah. And then we get into numbers with these guys, which is asinine because there are no steals, there are no blocks, there are no turnovers, there are no threes due to the time period that Arizin played.
Say MVP also wasn't around yet. So that tells you how old he was.
And then Arizin wins points per game and rebounds per game, while Pierce wins assists per game, field goal percentage, and free throw percentage. Or no, while the free throw percentage is almost identical. Sorry, excuse me. So again, almost dead even in their per game stats. And so a super close after two categories, the accolades and the per game stats. And then in total numbers, Pierce again wins every category on that portion.
The old 19 years coming in handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Paul's 115th all time in points and 177th all time in rebounds.
I doubt he played 19 years. Like
He
think he
played
played,
700 games.
He only played
So about
700
half the
only
number of games.
713 games.
Mm.
He barely got into the 7. So that's where.
And then my last guy was, even though he's on my list, is Dominique Wilkins. They again are close in All-Stars. Pierce has one more All-Star appearance than Dominique, 10-9. Wilkins wins the All-NBA 7-4. Pierce has a title in the Finals MVP, where obviously Dominique does not. And then in career numbers, steals per game, blocks per game, turnovers per game, and free throws are all, again, tenths difference. Wilkins wins points per game and rebounds per game and field goal percentage. Excuse me. But if you look at Pierce's 2-point percentage for his career, it is actually exactly the same as Dominique Wilkins. So Pierce, shooting the amount of threes he did, pulled his field goal percentage down. And he shoots, twice as many as Wilkins over his career. Pierce wins assists per game and 3-point percentage. So Wilkins does have a slight edge in him over in the per game. And then in total numbers, Wilkins wins in points and Pierce wins in rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. So yeah, that was the comparisons I did with those three other small forwards.
Very good.
They all look pretty similar to me, for a be honest. Just
Yeah,
little
pretty
differences, championships here, there, rookie year. Just I would say,
Yeah, I mean, Pierce wins the totals
yeah.
in all of them. He wins the accolades in 2 of the 3. And then he essentially ties the per game categories with Arizin and then loses to Wilkins and Dantley very slightly by 1 category in the per game.
I was pretty shocked Wilkins had more points than him due to Paul Pierce's length of his career. Wilkins must have scored quite a bit. I knew he scored a lot, obviously, but Pierce played forever, so I figured his career points are quite high. But,
I don't know. Do you have down how many games Wilkins played off, Doug?
Wilkins played 1,074, so 250 games left, something
Yeah.
like that.
Dang.
Well, yeah. So, when we talk about this, I know it's getting brought up in a couple other episodes. What are we doing with 3-point shooting? Because the more this comes up, the more we have these arguments, I think the more it's going to get brought up. Because, I mean, just in this argument, and they're like the last year of Dominique Wilkins' career and the first year of Paul Pierce's career are not that far apart, just a couple of years. And Paul Pierce's 3-point attempts are ridiculously more than Dominique Wilkins. And I'm not saying that's a perfect argument, but I mean, we know it continues to go up after that. I mean, we're looking at guys that, like we said earlier, that are just chucking it an all-time rate, literally, and guys that are great shooters, Bird, Reggie, Ray, all these other great shooters, but they didn't put up nearly the amount of them. What do we do with the 3-point shot?
When did the 3-pointer come in?
79.
79, okay. Yeah, because I mean the game is. It's like we've said earlier. What do we do with the modern game because it is so different?
It's
You know,
almost like a different sport.
It almost is. They shoot so many more threes, and it just wasn't part of the game back then. Obviously, it wasn't before there was a three-point line. We talked about it a little bit in the Maravich episode. Some of those guys have gone back and looked at how far out he shot, and it would have increased a lot of his scoring because obviously they didn't have it when he played.
Mm-hmm.
But again, coaches are not going to tell him to shoot clear out there. It's like they're probably yelling at him for shooting out there.
Right.
It's like, why are you taking that long shot? There's no point in it.
Why?
Now it's very much a point,
Why did they add the 3-point line to the NBA?
I think because of the success it had in the ABA, and so they adopted some of the ABA's rules. There was more, but I don't remember what they were.
We
Off
talked
the top
about
of my
it.
head. Yeah, we talked about it in one of the other
And,
past
maybe
episodes.
in the Mikan episode because he had partly to do with the ABA. And I think they also wanted to bring the guard back into the game a little bit more, the shooting guard, not so much the big men, because there for a while, I mean, you had Chamberlain, Jabbar, Russell, I mean, on and on. I mean, there's a lot of big guys, and they packed the paint and they pounded it in, and, they wanted to open it up a little bit.
So I guess, we have all these older players, some of which we just talked about, Dantley and Dominique and these guys.
Bernard King.
Some
of those guys had
Alice
nothing to do with
English.
that, yeah.
They didn't shoot hardly any threes at all. Maybe they were terrible at it, and they just didn't do it, which is fine. And then they shot a lot better from the field than these guys that are shooting a bunch of threes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to I know there's a formula that the NBA uses to figure this out. Like, what percentage do you have to shoot for three that makes it better than X percentage of twos? Like, if you shoot 50% from 2-point land, if I shoot 35% from 3-point land, that's actually better than your 50%. I don't know if those are the exact numbers. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's mathematical. And
Yeah.
You can calculate it out, yeah.
But to be honest with you, when I look up stats for guys, I don't want to do math formulas.
I don't believe you.
Maybe should we focus more on things like true shooting percentage to see the overall impact that it factors in all of your shots, all of your shooting? So maybe instead of field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, when we're comparing like an older player and a newer player, look at their true shooting percentage. We're supposed to factor in everything.
I mean, it does do that. I'm not 100% sure how they calculate true shooting percentage, so I'm a little bit out of my depth, but I know that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to calculate free throws, threes, and twos, and all into one category, and it's called your true shooting percentage. And I know I see it a lot now on ESPN and Fox, and I hear it on some of my podcasts. But if you told me, okay, what's this guy's true shooting percentage, I wouldn't know how to figure it. I know how to figure field goal percentage and free throw percentage.
Right.
So like I said, I'm a little out of my depth here, but that is what that's supposed to do. But not knowing how they do it, I can't talk much more on it.
Yeah, I don't know how to calculate it either.
I mean, I don't, I guess, technically know how to calculate it all up myself, but I just know it's a good, something they use a lot because, say your field goal percentage is somewhat lower than what, say someone like Damian Lillard, who almost constantly is shooting very far away from the basket. So his field goal percentage is technically 43%, which isn't terrible, but it's not great either. But he has a good 2-point percentage, a really good free throw percentage, and his 3-point percentage is high, but most of his shots are 3-pointers, so it drags his field goal percentage low. It takes the overall value of all of his shooting and where he's shooting from, and it's supposed to show you how valuable overall all that combined is. So that's my understanding of it. So you get more of a, does that make sense, that explanation?
Mm-hmm. I believe 3-pointers are weighted in true shooting percentage.
I don't know.
I believe. I just tried to look it up, and it just says it encompasses 2 points, 3 points, and free throws into a percentage. So I didn't even
Yeah, they're not telling you much there.
get a great answer on that. So, I mean, yeah, I think we've ran into a thing like we talked about a few weeks ago with the ABA.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what do we do with this? And none of us have a great answer yet. I mean, Wade's answer is probably the best of anybody's.
Yeah, well, we probably need to look into the true percentage. And
I just don't know how the true shooting percentage, like, I don't know if it helps players nowadays because of their 3-point shooting, or if it would affect players like back in the day that we were talking about that don't shoot a lot of threes. So I don't know if someone would be at a disadvantage from not shooting as many threes. I don't know, but I just don't technically know how 100% know how it works. But we could definitely look into it. I guess we could look at someone like Bird, someone who did shoot at least some threes, and see what his true shooting percentage looks like, and then and try and base that off of some of the players nowadays to try and see what it looks like maybe.
So why would you need true shooting percentage? What does that benefit?
Just a more overall way to see how efficient you are, instead of having it broken down into different categories of field goal percentage, 2-point percentages, 3-point percentages, free throws. It's just one percentage. See overall, see if you're an overall inefficient player or efficient player.
Because I would think that it'd be more beneficial to see the separate categories one by one than it would be to just round them all up in one category. I think that would probably mess with me more than anything, because the way you would put a team together. Why would I want some dude that sucks at 3 and his true shooting percentage is, say, like 50%, and now you got a bunch of people around the 3-point line, and this guy just rounded up at 2 true shooting percentage, and you got him out there too.
Well, I mean, you still have access to their 3-point percentage. You can still look and see if they're.
Well, I know that, but I just don't understand, like, why would you do that at all?
I mean, I didn't
make it up. I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. Like, maybe I'm, set in my ways or whatever. I like looking at the regular statistics. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, field goal, free throw, 3-point percentage, all that stuff. I like looking at that stuff. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Ray. I just think we've run into an issue here. Adrian Dantley was like, "Hey, I shoot 54% from the field for my career, but I didn't shoot threes." And it's like, well, this guy shoots 48% from the field, but he shot 1,000 threes in his career. I'm just throwing numbers out, by the way.
Right, yeah.
And so obviously, if I'm shooting 1,000 threes, I'm not going to probably shoot as well as a guy that's shooting at the basket all the time. We don't expect. We're only saying this because we're talking about wings. If we were talking about centers, this wouldn't be as big of a conversation. We don't expect. I mean, nowadays centers even shoot threes, but I mean, it's not like we're sitting here going, "Well, David Robinson shot a bunch of threes, so really he might have shot better than Akeem Olajuwon if he didn't shoot these threes." It's really just we're looking at guards and wings, because even when we did the Walt Frazier stuff, well, Walt Frazier didn't shoot any threes. I mean, there was no 3. Right. So I mean, but these types of things. It's just, I don't know. I just felt like we've reached a weird place, because we're comparing guys from different eras. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, it was really hard to compare, Paul Arizin and Paul Pierce. But I mean, even Dominique and Dantley, who just played in the 80s, it wasn't like they played too long ago. It was like, well, they didn't shoot threes.
Dantley literally shot like 40 for his career.
41, I think is I think 41
attempts.
is the exact number. I was just had it pulled up. Yeah,
literally didn't shoot threes.
Yeah,
almost like literally maybe a couple a year.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I was just trying to. I guess what I'm trying to say is I was just trying to get to a point if we had a better answer of what the to do with the 3-point shooting, because it's we're going to have this conversation. I mean, wait till we get to Curry and Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. Now we're going to be like, well, just because he shoots a ton more, does that make him better? What I'm saying? Because it's not like he shoots ridiculously better percentages than them or even better percentages than them. It's just he shot a lot more of them. You know, so we're gonna have this conversation again. I guess I was trying to be preemptive. I mean, we were just talking about Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce shot almost 6,000 threes in his career. Dantley shot 41.
Right. Yeah.
That's a gigantic gap. I mean, what do you even do with that? I don't know. And it's not like Pierce was a bad shooter.
No, not at all.
You know, I mean, his career average is 36.8, which is all right. He had a few seasons in his career he shot over 40% from three. You know,
he was a good 3-point shooter. He wasn't great though.
Right. I don't think I said great, did I?
No. I was just saying that he was known as being a good shooter.
No, the current NBA pisses me off, and I'm gonna go off on a tangent here again because it doesn't matter what you shoot. If you shoot 36% and you shoot 4 or 5 a game, so be it. I don't care. But the ones that bother me is, you know, like we talked about Russell Westbrook. I'm shooting 28%, and I'm still shooting 5 or 6 a game. Like, but stop.
Yeah.
You could almost call today's NBA the spaghetti basketball because you just, you know, kind of throw it against the wall and see what sticks, and that's pretty much how they play.
Yeah, I mean, really, I can't remember who it was. Somebody on the broadcast the other night during one of the playoff games was talking Barkley said that in the playoffs there are 3 things you need to win playoff games: the turnover battle, the rebound battle, and I can't remember what the third one was. But it wasn't threes. And then somebody on the live broadcast was like, well, in today's NBA, a lot of times just whoever makes more threes wins. So, you know, I mean, we watched, the Cavs-Warriors series. The Cavs murdered the Warriors on the boards every year in those series. Just killed them on the boards. There were, what was it, the first time or the second time they played when they had Mozgov?
Yeah.
Mozgov was out there getting
yeah.
like 15, 18 rebounds a game every night. And the Warriors would blow them out.
Yeah, Tristan Thompson, Mozgov.
Yeah, Tristan Thompson always had a bunch of boards.
Well, you have 3 of the greatest shooters ever on one roster. They're just bombing away. Thompson, Curry, and Durant all just going nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know if we even have if there is a correct answer to what I asked. So maybe I'm just asking unanswerable questions at this point.
Well, it's definitely something we need to think about. And as we discuss more shooting guards, more small forwards, that's really where it's going to. Well, it might even come in a little bit in the power forwards, the stretch fours now.
I mean,
It's something to think about, and we can look into.
Yeah, I was going to say Dirk is who came to my mind.
Yeah.
Dirk's field goal percentage, I don't know it. So maybe lower than guys like Duncan and
other power forwards.
and Barkley and Malone or whatever. Yeah, and Garnett because of his 3-point shooting. You know, I don't know the answer to that. I'm just guessing because he did shoot quite a few threes, and he was mainly a jump shooter. It wasn't like he went down the block and did work on a consistent basis. I mean, so, yeah, I mean, this conversation has the potential to be brought up. And this isn't the first time it's been brought up. It's the first time we've got this in depth into it. I can't remember what episode it was. There was an episode where I was like, his career field goal percentage is lower than whoever we were arguing about. But if you take away his threes, he actually has a better field goal percentage. So I mean, like, it does pull your overall field goal percentage down.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to.
So anyway, we're not even talking about Paul Pierce anymore. So do we want to give our? I'm sorry, somebody say something.
I just said go Paul.
Oh, which one, Arizin or Pierce?
Pierce.
Do we want to give our closing statements and move on to trivia?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I will kick it to Uncle Doug.
Sure. Nothing against the truth. I thought he was a great player. This, to me, is another one of the bottom of our small forward list arguments. I had a couple guys that I liked a little bit better. Doing the research, I found at least one other guy that I'm going to have to consider before the end of all this. But that's, to me, that was just kind of the way it shook out.
I think it's like Paul Pierce and Dominique and Paul and Adrian Dantley. It's like 4 guys that have some pretty similar differences there, here's and there. There's just maybe kind of personal preference, what people like more than others. And there's not stats or championships or other stuff. I think that's what kind of came down to with all of us.
Well, here's my question, Drew. Is
Oh,
when
boy.
when did you and Paul Arizin get on a first name basis? You just keep referring to him as Paul.
I don't know. He just grew on me with more research I did on him. He just became my man.
For Christmas, we need to buy you a jersey of Paul Arizin.
Dude, I bet if we can find one, I bet it costs a ridiculous amount
Oh,
of
we
money.
could just customize one.
You probably have to have it made.
We're gonna have to have like
So I'm saying, did you do a
yeah.
customized jersey?
I'll-
Just put
I'll- I'm gonna
Arizin in the
Google it
back.
right now. I'm
we're
Googling.
gonna customize a jersey. That's what we're gonna do. Ray, what you got for us, bud?
Really nothing different from what I said before. Liked his swag, liked his playing style. I thought he was really great to watch as a player, and he always, man, every time he make that clutch shot, he'd always just swag down the floor and like suck on this guys, and that's what I always liked. I liked a little swag, and then Alex brought up the doing the 9 drills thing. Dude, that even added more on my list right there.
There you
So, Mr. Hardworking Paul Pierce. So, yeah, hell yeah, buddy.
I mean, like I said before, I just thought he was a good all around safe pick for the bottom of small forwards, and I grew up watching him, so it was someone that came to my mind very quickly. I had about 15 to 20 basketball jerseys growing up, and he was one of them. I had old Paul Pierce. And kind of a fun fact: when he first came into the league, he was almost murdered in a nightclub. He was stabbed like 11 times, or something like that, and almost died, and came back and to still be a superstar in the NBA. I get some kudos points for that one.
Hell yeah. Another
You're
raise
hu-
on the list.
You're 100% right on that. He was stabbed. I think you're right. I think it was like 11 times.
Yeah,
He was stabbed twice in the face, like 7 times in the torso, and like a couple times
Yeah.
in his arms.
and I believe teammate Tony Batty was one of the people that helped save him, got him
Yeah.
out of the club and got him to the hospital and helped save his life.
And then, like, I can't remember. I just watched this, like a little mini documentary on YouTube about it. Don't quote me on the time period here, but this happened during training camp. And so, like, just a few weeks went by and the season started. I can't remember, 3-4 weeks or whatever. And he scored 25 in the first game of the season.
Yeah, so that was one of the most crazy things I've ever heard of an NBA player.
Damn.
Not only did he survive, but he came back and was a superstar in the NBA. So I thought that was really cool. But all around, just a really good player. Like I said, someone I watched, someone that I really liked. Like I said, really, really good totals, averages. But the main thing that really stuck out for me for the bottom of our list, he got a championship and a Finals MVP, which for the bottom of our list, it doesn't always happen. That's usually the guys that are just the big numbers guys, that the championship kind of eludes them. But he got one, and so I thought that was a nice bonus for Paul. But yeah.
I think we've said it in the past. The end of our lists are littered with guys that put up big stats but no titles.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. But yeah, I think I've said enough. I can kick it to Alex.
I agree with a lot of what Wade said. I thought he was a solid pick. He's pretty. He has accolades. He has per game stats. He has career stats. He has the title. So I thought it was a nice pick towards the end of my list. And he has a kick-ass nickname. I think The Truth is a really cool nickname,
Hell yeah.
personally.
It is.
Honestly, there was a lot of nicknames from my childhood that I really liked. One of which also played with The Truth and The Big Ticket. I always liked The Big Ticket. I always thought that was a cool nickname.
Vinsanity, bro.
Vinsanity, yeah.
Cornbread.
Yeah, cornbread. Of course, T-Mac.
Penny.
Penny, yeah. A lot of guys had cool nicknames when I was a kid. So
C-Web.
C-Web, there was a lot of
There's a lot of
initial guys, AI and C-Web,
the Black Mamba.
Black
I mean,
Mamba.
That's
yeah.
one of the coolest ones ever.
And I really, really like him, so I hate to say this, but the big fundamental is so lame. Like, what the hell?
Who needs a real good nickname when he just destroyed you every time he walked on the court?
Yeah. Anyway, so
I looked up Paul for jerseys. The first thing that came up, Paul freaking Ayers it's a shirt. It says it on the front. And then the next one, it's his jersey. We're number 11, and it's around a goat.
Around to go.
Oh my God!
All right.
Drew.
So are they selling it?
Yeah, $12 and $20.
$12.
$12. All right.
Does that include the goat?
No.
Oh,
That's funny.
you're getting robbed then.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I would totally buy Drew a goat for Christmas.
We just name it Paul.
Good luck, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Doug's gonna kill it and bury it in the backyard.
We're gonna get a phone call from Drew like Paul's dead.
Yeah.
Oh,
But we had a nice dinner.
Talking about fucking goats. What are we doing?
No, we're not talking about fucking goats. That's not true.
Oh Lord. Anyways, are we do some trivia?
Yeah, let's do some trivia,
trivia, huh?
guys. All right, anybody got a question ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Drew.
It's a two-parter like it always is with my questions.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, what stat and other stat did some guy do?
It is a stat.
Okay.
All right, let's
And
go.
it's the stat someone did. Okay.
Okay.
Who did the most turnovers in one game? How many and who is it?
So in NBA history, who had most
Yeah.
turnovers in a game?
Yeah. How many and who is it?
How many and who is it? Okay.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Oh
this one.
man.
Probably just takes one player that has the ball a lot to have one really bad game.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, because if I was a betting man, I would bet this is a really good player.
Probably.
Because if you're a bad player and you're sucking, they'll just take you out of the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got my answer, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Not gonna be like Tony Dell.
Oh, did we have to?
Turnovers.
Is it just the person, or do we have to know the number?
Both.
We have to guess the number.
Yeah, you got to guess the number.
Just put a number down, Alberta.
Challenge.
Bro, my next question is gonna be like an 8-parter.
I do these two parts all the time.
2-parters, but guessing a number? Come on, man.
Jeez.
Oh man. All right, I'm ready.
Me too.
I got one.
All right.
Good, Ray.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
like
let's
that.
do it.
All right, I got Kid with 21.
I got Shaq with 22.
I got Westbrook at 20.
I got Kobe at 13.
It's Kid with 14.
Oh,
I almost got the number right.
I got the person right. Should be a fucking point.
No points.
no soup for you.
I'm changing my question.
All right, I got mine ready.
All right, let's go, Willard.
Which two NBA players share the record for most All-Star Game MVPs?
All-Star Game MVPs, huh?
Two players
I
share the record.
I know one. I'm pretty sure.
Gosh, why do I even care about this?
Yeah, we established a long time ago, All-Star games don't matter.
Yeah, second episode. Freaking Tom
Yeah.
Chambers. I'm about to write Tom Chambers.
Was that the second episode?
Yeah, James Worthy.
Oh,
You
okay,
compared
yeah,
him.
Yeah.
Me and
All right.
Wade were dying.
I'm ready.
All right,
Yeah, I
I'm
got
locked
some.
in.
1 second.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
I got Kobe and Westbrook.
Okay.
I got Kobe and MJ.
Okay.
Kobe and Westbrook.
Jordan and Jabbar.
Well, some of you were half correct, but no one actually got it. But Drew, it's Kobe and Bob Pettit.
What? Drew.
Are you
I believe they
Dang.
each have 4.
4?
I knew Kobe.
I believe it was 4.
Wow.
That's a lot. Who's next?
All right, I'll go ahead and go.
All right.
During the 1994 All-Star Game, half of the Eastern Conference roster was made up of players from what two teams?
Okay, can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. During the 1994 All-Star Game, half of the Eastern Conference roster was made up of players from what two teams?
All right.
94.
Wow. That's a good question, Ray. ready.
All right.
Yeah, I got it.
1 second. I don't think this is right, but that's all I can think of.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
I got Bulls and Knicks.
I also have Bulls and Knicks.
I have Bulls and Pacers.
I have Bulls and Magic.
All right. The correct answer is Chicago and New York.
All right, Alex. Woo. We each got it.
That's
Let's
right.
see. Chicago sent Scottie Pippen, who was MVP of the game, Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong.
BJ
While
Gowan.
New York sent Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, and John Starks.
BJ Armstrong made an all-star team.
Yeah. I think they talked about it in the documentary.
Really?
All right. Does that leave you and I,
Ready
Uncle
for
Doug?
me? All right. Paul Pierce is number 16
Oh boy.
all time in games played. Okay. He played 1,343 games. Number 1 is 1,611 games. Who is it?
1,611. That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. And you notice I didn't make it two parts. You don't have to get both. I'll give you the games. You just tell me the player.
Guess how many games he played.
That could be thousands. My turnovers is like 20. You guys didn't barely guess anything over 20.
Yeah, the one that got me was your dirt question, where you said there was a stat and an accomplishment, and then they were both stats. And then I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I put a championship down, and it was 3-pointers and, like, blocks.
Yeah, it was 200
That's a fucking accomplishment? Like,
200 3-pointers and 150 blocks in the same season. Only player to do it.
all right.
Drew's cheating.
He was.
I'm not
He was
cheating.
mad because I was taking the lead.
No, you
I mean,
guys
he
always
got
diss
me.
on me in trivia when I start doing good on the boards. Oh, you're cheating with your questions. When I was doing good, when everyone was just saying I'm out loud, oh, you're copying us. I can't do anything in this segment.
No. I mean, we did accuse you of that's
Over
that's,
and over.
That's true.
And I'm still in second.
But you have to admit, you are asking by far the hardest questions.
Uncle Doug is catching you, I believe, though.
No, he is.
We're all
He is.
catching him. Wade caught him and passed him, and Doug and I have
I
caught
think last week I
caught
got
up
2
to him.
right.
Poor Ray. Just hanging out at the
I'm
bottom.
I'm at the beach right now, hanging out with the Corona.
Sorry, Ray.
Okay. Have we all have a guess for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a guess.
Okay.
Everybody. All right, I got AC.
Robert Parrish.
Put Parrish.
I got Grant Hill.
And the correct answer is the Chief, Robert
Parrish.
Parrish.
Woo! More points for Daddy.
Point for Drew, by the way.
I'm not sure how many of those games he actually played in, but
I was debating. I was like, did Vince get there? I was like, nah, I think he's just short of Robert Parrish.
I think Vince is 2 or 3.
I think he's like somewhere in the 1500s, I think.
Yeah.
There's what? Parrish, AC Green, Vince Carter, and Jabbar are like
Right.
probably the top 4 guys.
Yeah,
Like
they're right up
they
there.
all played like 20-some seasons, and
At
like,
22, 23.
Well, yeah, Kobe would be. Yeah, because Kobe played 20 seasons.
yeah.
Duncan or KG? Did KG get over 20? Because he came out of high school.
Yeah, those high school guys, that kind of
Yeah.
throws that off,
He played
too.
real late into his 30s. He might have got 20 years in.
Yeah, he might have. I mean, Duncan went to college, but Duncan was still around for a long
Yeah.
time because he played after KG retired.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
guess
don't
it
know
doesn't
either.
matter.
Yeah,
Who got left? Alex?
me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm about to change this shit up.
Just ask
All
Drew
right.
a separate hard question.
No.
While we get an easy one.
All right, I need this season's points per game leaders. I need the top 5 with how many points per game, plus the percentage, plus the decimals on what they have. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, I'm out.
No. So, the top 5 people this year in points per game. Number 4 and number 5 are Embiid and Giannis. The only 2 big men. There are 3 guards who are 1, 2, and 3. I just want their names.
But it's 3.
And it's what we're looking for. What's the stat?
Points per game.
Points per game. I can't never remember that one
trying to
dude's
think
name.
who played enough games to
Yeah.
qualify.
Yeah, in this season, that's a task.
That's tricky. I know 1 and 2.
I know 1 and 2 too, but I can't think of the other one.
All right, I'm going for one.
All right, I think I got mine.
All right, I got to guess.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Is Ben Simmons considered a guard?
I believe he is.
He is.
You think
But
Ben Simmons is winning the scoring
You
title?
think Ben Simmons is winning the scoring title?
No.
The guy that
I know who won the scoring title.
He's
okay?
averaging like 15 points a game. Yeah, well, I'll just go and give you the tip. Like, it's
Yeah.
not. It's not Ben Simmons.
Let it go. Let it go.
Are you turning into a Ben Simmons fan over here?
No.
That's like saying, hey, did Ben Wallace win a scoring title?
With that 43% free throw percentage.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, by the way, did you guys see Tobias Harris today in the Philly game? He scored 28 in the first half. Embiid couldn't play because he got 2 fouls real early, and then like a minute into the second quarter, picked up his third, went back to the bench, and Tobias Harris had 28 at half. He finished the game with only 37, but like,
Hey.
yeah. But then Embiid came out in the second half and played well. But everybody got their answers.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
All right, what you got?
I got Steph, Devin Booker, and Luka.
All right, I got Luka, Lillard, and Curry.
I got Curry, Beal, and Trae Young.
I got Curry, Lillard, and Young.
A lot of close guesses here. Curry, Beal, Lillard.
Oh, I forgot Lillard.
Yeah.
I got the first two in order. Damn it.
Yep.
All right. So, it's all right. I still got 2 points this week.
Yes, so speaking of points, the points after this week are as follows. Ray with 13. Alex and Doug each with 27. Drew with 30. And Wade with 35.
Whoa, go Wade.
That's right.
Trivia master.
So Wade extends his lead by another point this week. Way to go, Willard. And that'll wrap up this week's episode of Paul Pierce. And thank you for tuning in. Please tune in next week for our episode on somebody I can't remember.
I don't know either. I don't know.
No, I feel like it's Dennis Rodman for some reason.
Oh, Gary Payton.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for the
That'd be a
assist,
cool
Uncle
one.
Doug. Our next week's episode, next Thursday, will be Gary Payton, the glove. So I do believe that is myself, Ray, and
Not me.
Drew.
Yeah, I have the glove.
So it's the three of us. So we switch it up a little bit. I thought I was going to be a Celtics again. I didn't know.
There's a clear divide of Celtics and Lakers.
Yeah. But anyway, please tune in next week for some glove action. Sorry.
We're not promoting Trojan at whatever.
But if Trojan wants to sponsor, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But yes, and that was Sports the Nemo Way.